Hey, Nancy here, and I've got a friend and a guest that I think you'll love. And I'm not going to tell you a lot about her because she's going to tell you all about my what what she does and why. And she is an author, like myself, and we're in an author group. That's how we met. And we're going to do it right now. So ready? I am hoping she answers some questions for you too, because she is a healer. Yeah. Hi, Jennifer Juniper. Welcome.
Hi, Nancy. So great to be here. Thank you.
Great to be with you. So tell me, you have a first, let's go to your book before we say anything. You have a book out, right?
Yep, it just came out on my birthday, November 12th last year.
Oh,
My birthday present to myself and to the world. It's called Gut Instincts, a
oh,
journey. It's how
okay.
I followed my gut to heal my gut.
Right. And what's that got to do with the brain and the intuition and right?
Oh, yeah, I love intuition. Uh, so I had Crohn's disease. I got diagnosed when I was in college, and the treatments weren't only not working, they were making me more sick. But I was also getting a psychology degree at the time. And I was learning about the power of the mind, this placebo effect, where 70% of study participants get better on a sugar pill because they're told that it's medicine, and that the power of belief is that strong. And I went, well, I've got the power of belief. I believe in lots of great things. I've seen a couple of great things. And so that's the track I started to go on. And I decided I was going to heal this. I wasn't just going to manage it. It was unmanageable. So I
Okay,
just
hold
had to
on.
get rid of it.
You just said something I want them to bold cap underline belief.
Yeah.
How strong was it? Your belief?
It was pretty good. It got a lot better.
When?
But I did believe, well, as I sort of stoked the fire with other people's miracle stories, because I didn't really, I had a few of my own, and but I was just a believer. I'd already had a rough childhood, and one of the things that kept me going was just a belief that things would one day get better. And you
What?
know that saying, people say, well, I'll believe it when I see it. It's actually, you'll see it when you believe it. That's how powerful belief is.
So if I didn't know anything about this, right? I know. I'm laughing, folks. That part of my history, a lot of them don't know. I've been paralyzed a few times completely, and
Yeah.
I healed completely. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, that's the power of belief. All right. So, but they're listening, and I know, in fact, several people who say to me, well, I have Crohn's, but you don't have to have a Crohn's to understand how important what she is saying about how the gut brain interact. Without giving you all the science behind it, we don't need to. We're not here for that. So, for those who don't know, where do you start? So, in
I started
anything,
with a choice. You have to make a choice first. Because if you don't make a choice, you're going to stay in the victim mindset and talk about paralysis. That's paralyzing. If I'm a victim, what can I do? I can't do anything. I have to wait for other people and other things to change.
what if you
But
don't think you can make a choice, though?
well, you can always make a choice.
Thank you.
We're choosing all the time. Most of us choose unconsciously. The beauty of coming to an impossible situation in your life, to a crossroads, is that is a choice. It was like, am I just going to keep doing what I'm like the definition of insanity? Am I going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Or am I going to interrupt this cycle somehow? And that choice was an interrupt of a pattern that said, wait a minute, I want to be in the group of patients that gets better. I already had an amazing doctor who told me he had two groups of patients. He said one listens to everything I say and and believes that they will have this for the rest of their life and they will suffer, and it is true for them. He said, but I have this other group. They don't listen to anything I say and they get better. It's like the only difference I can see between these two groups is a decision. So the nurse was like in the hospital after he said that, she's like, which group do you want to be in? And I'm like, seriously? I want to be in that second group. I claimed it.
Do you know, and this may interest others also, back in the 70s, I think there was a 5-year study published, and I used to know who it was. It was a physician, a radiologist, and his receptionist, Stephanie. They would get, I think it was Walter Reed Army Hospital, or one of them, I can't remember. Symington is his last name, Dr. Simon, Simonton. And when the patients came in, they all had malignant tumors, every one of them. They were already diagnosed. Stephanie kept the scorecard from the moment she met them and they came to her desk and signed in and had a very brief conversation, not much. She would label on her scorecard who's going to live and who's going to die. At the end of 1 year, she was 95% accurate. And that goes back to a book back in the 1930s, Hutschnecker wrote, The Will to Live,
Mm.
right? And so Symington took all these people and showed them their tumors on x-rays or whatever they showed them. And he said, every night before you go to sleep, you have to pick something to imagine destroying it. If you don't like destroying anything, weed the garden in your mind of the tumor. So he gave them examples. For kids, it was Pac-Man. Go chop it up.
Mhm.
And published a study 5 years later, 30% longevity increase in everyone who did the work.
Mm.
So I'm listening to you and saying, crossroads,
Yeah.
right? How do you get there? Right? And so everything you're saying goes to anything else, right? At any moment. So you're giving hope that we can stay unconscious all we want, and then suddenly we can make a decision to change it. What usually in your situation, not only in you, but what you've observed in others, what brings that to awareness?
A crisis. I think something that the world doesn't have an answer for.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a death, maybe it's a loss, maybe it's you've done all the right things and this terrible thing happens and you can't reconcile it in your mind. That is the best place to be because then your ego and your brain can't just plaster something from the past, which is all it can do, on top of this moment. You really want to be in that free fall where you're like, wow, I I didn't have a solution to this. I'm going to have to create a solution to this. And that's what life gives us the opportunity to do
Hmm.
all the time. We call them bad things, but
Hmm.
once you get through them and harness their power, it's hard to really think that.
How do you harness the power?
Using your mind and staying open and going, I don't know where this is going to take me, but I know it's going to be something really good and that I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to use somebody else's way. I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to create, along with the creative force of the universe, my own path. We all deserve a personalized individual process in this world. We're not cookies. That's why cookie cutter things don't work. It's
Mhm.
keto, it's low carb, it's Atkins, it's paleo. Like there's always another thing going, use this to fix yourself. But really, like Lao Tzu says, at the center of your being, you know who you are and you know what you want. So turn
You
inward.
you made a very important piece that I'd like to emphasize for a moment with them on the cookie cutter.
Mm.
Bob Atkins, I knew him personally. And so a couple who I was best friends with, the man had a lot of trouble and he was seeing Atkins. And I took a look at what he wrote. He was seeing him, not reading the book. And so I tweaked it my way, added to it. Bob looks at it, Atkins. We had him as a keynote when I ran a nonprofit in holistic health education. And we invited him in, and my best friend at the time, chiropractor, she became his family chiropractor. So it was a nice
Mm.
network. But what I observed was simple. Bob, in some ways, was sorry he ever wrote the book. Yes, it made him a lot of money. He said, but people, that's a cookie cutter. Don't, you're not supposed to read it as do this, do this, do this. This is just an example of something that works for some. Now tweak it yourself and do some research.
Mhm.
Because he took blood work every week on his clients and then tweaked according to the blood work, which did
Mhm.
work for them. And then when I showed him some other things, he added that in. So I'm saying that cookie cutter, that needs to be a bold headline of stop treating it like a cookie cutter. I
Yeah.
oh, same thing with my books. These are just ideas of technique to use or exercises to use. They're supposed to stimulate your own and tweak it to sit with you, right? So in
Yes.
your book, do you, I'm sure you educate people on on so much of this. On, do you go into your own history?
Yeah, so in my introduction to my book, I actually say this is not a how-to book. This is a now you book. Like I found my own path, so you find your own path, but I'll show you how I found my path. Don't follow my path, show how I created it. And when you said weed in the garden, that's exactly how I thought of Crohn's disease.
Mhm.
And a weed, if you just snap it off, which is what symptom management does, it was just snapping off the top. Well, it's just going to grow back. It looks good for a while, and then it's going to grow back. You have to get to the root. And the deeper you dig, the longer it's going to take that weed to grow back until you get of it out and it can't come back. That's what that book is about. And for me, what was at the root of that, again, remember, I'm getting a psychology degree, was my childhood trauma. So this was the late 80s, early 90s. There was self-help was not as prevalent as it is now. And I had Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life,
Mhm.
and I had Bernie Siegel's Love, Medicine, and Miracles. These were my two headlights as I drove through the dark of my healing path. And just Louise's title, You Can Heal Your Life. I'm like, my life? No, no, just my tummy. It's my tummy. But I'm like, wait, why is she calling it that? Is it my whole life? And sure enough, it was like there were things that were done in my
Mhm.
childhood that made the soil where Crohn's could grow.
Right.
And there were things I was continuing to do because of my childhood that was like fertilizer in that soil. But it was so subconscious. You know, it's like an iceberg, right? You just see that little tip, but the majority of it is underneath. That's what's directing it. So when I looked at it like that, and I was like, there was some stuff when I saw what she said about the childhood causation for me, I
Mhm.
was
Well,
like
that
a radar went ping.
sure, because that's in psychology and called Jung, all of it starts working
Yes.
together. It
I
starts
love
forming
young.
that puzzle. And Bernie Siegel was a keynote and the best. I picked up the phone to hire him for the uh, nonprofit holistic health education workshops, etc. He picked up the phone. He had 5 kids with Bobby.
Oh,
They came to the thing. They hung out. I did a TV interview because I did a half-hour show on New Jersey for 7 years, and so I interviewed him. And he was such an angel. And as she's saying, so Love, Medicine, and Miracles. If you haven't read it, if you need hope, that's the book to read. I think for me,
well, and when you
it
talk
was
about where do you
game
get
changer.
belief? Yeah. I was like, well, these guys,
Yep,
he said people with cancer weren't dying like they were supposed to. I thought that was such a great line. Like they're not dying like they're
right.
supposed to. And I went, well, what I have isn't as bad as cancer. So if people aren't dying, then I can probably get better. So I soaked up their stories like a sponge, like it was food, and I just borrowed it. you can borrow other people's belief. That's what inspiration is. You're borrowing somebody else's belief to create your own, and you can create belief. You believe
Oh,
things right now. People believe stuff all the time, or they wouldn't ever do anything.
right.
So you can
Yep.
change it.
Yes. So
Swap it.
Jennifer, where can I get your book?
It's on Amazon. If you put in Gut Instincts, Jennifer Juniper, it comes up. I think you'll probably have a link that you can
I'll
put
have a
in
link.
the notes.
Yeah. And right.
hmm hmm
Absolutely.
If you
So
just want to check it out without buying it, there's a free
sample.
chapter that you can get. Uh-huh. And then I've also, because I love books, but I love people even more than books. So I've started a community. People can come together and start looking at these beliefs and just looking.
Where can they find that? Are you sending me the
I'll
link?
send you the link for that too. Yeah. It's
You
on
need to.
School. It's called the Level Up Lounge. And that's what we do. We look at those things under the water of the iceberg. Most people are running subconsciously. We're on autopilot. That's the beauty of a tragedy. It just shakes you awake. It's like, hey,
Hmm.
do you see what you're thinking? Because it needs changing. And
Yeah.
so I created this group where we can play with that. Like, how are those
Perfect.
beliefs working out for you?
How sweet. This is wonderful. So that's why I have her here. Get it? Okay. So thank you, Jennifer, for coming in and
Oh,
sharing all your wisdom. It's wonderful. I hope you
thank
all
you,
got
Nancy.
something out of this because I did.
I,
And
me
that's
too.
what matters to me. Other than if you got anything, a reinforcement, you're right, do your
Oh,
own thing, please do. Diagnosis is just a very common way of looking at individuals as not individuals.
yeah. It's a
And
suggestion.
it's a
It's
right,
just,
it's a suggestion that maybe you have some similar malfunction, but then there are other pieces to the puzzle. Because unless you had the same childhood Jennifer had, or I have, it's an old adage, who'd want anybody else's life? No, we
no,
couldn't do it. So
no. If I
thank
can
you.
heal a diabolical disease like Crohn's, and I've healed more things since then, it's possible. When you want belief, you'll see evidence of it everywhere.
Isn't that wonderful?
hmm
Thank you. And that I
Thank you,
hope makes
Nancy.
everybody's day. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Nancy. That was a blast. So usually